Stop resisting. You're under arrest for robbery. Put your hand behind your back.
Looking at pictures from overnight, there was brand new violence, unfortunately, breaking out in Ferguson, Missouri.
This says Reverend Al Sharpton promises to protest in at least 24 cities, regardless of what the grand jury decides. Will this just create more racial tension? We're going to ask Bishop Harry Jackson, who joins us from St. Louis this morning. Bishop Jackson, we thank you for joining us here. It's a stressful time, and I'm sure the mood there is high anxiety. Have you spoken with Reverend Al Sharpton?
I have not spoken with Al Sharpton. I do know him and have been many times a guest on his program.
What do you think of his plans to sort of lead the way in potential protests here, regardless of what the jury decides?
Well, I think, Elizabeth, it is a knee-jerk response, and there are two things happening. There's a concrete case before us, and then there's a long-term history of concern about racial issues in America. His demonstrations are not going to address those underlying problems. And so the work that is being done here at the 28th Annual Urban World Summit, that's why I'm in this area, Ferguson and St. Louis, is going to be more systematic, more long-term. Reality is that folk in the community have to solve this problem. And there is a history of lynchings, problems, racial profiling in the past. There's a current reality that has to be changed. The real message, I think, that all of us are trying to get out is that black lives count and that problems must be addressed. But where these demonstrations around the nation fall short, in my opinion, is that there are no concrete steps of action in just the demonstration. And I think that's the problem. So local people have to come together. We have to understand each other. And the event I'm involved in here is dealing with racial reconciliation at the root, using Christianity as a bridge to bring people together of different races, and then having ongoing policy watches, systematic ways that we can reform what's going on in this community where there are many aberrant behaviors.
Bishop, isn't violence an impediment to reconciliation? I don't understand how we can move forward if these demonstrations result in looting and violence. And by the way, what do those things have to do with justice?
Yep. Well, I think there has to be justice on both sides of the coin. Justice for this police officer. He's got to go home at night after a conflict, and any policeman around the nation. And then justice must be done for those in the black community. And I think that's why we need intermediate and longer term ways of addressing these issues. So no, violence doesn't accomplish anything at this particular time. It feeds into some of the problems that we're already having.
All right. Thanks, Bishop. We appreciate it.
Bishop, thank you.
Coming up, here we go.